What's up, guys? Dan the Man here. Welcome back. Today, I'm working on the Danger Ranger. This thing's my daily, my pride and joy. We're going to be doing a whole front end rebuild. We got a lot of stuff. We got upper and lower control arms with the ball joints in them, rotors, brake pads, wheel bearings, both inside and outside. We've got inner and outer control, tie rod ends, sway bar links. And yeah, so with these, we're just replacing the whole control arms because you can't hardly even find, it's not that much more than just getting the ball joints, and you can hardly even find just the ball joints anymore. So we're doing the whole arms. So yeah, this thing's gonna be riding like a Cadillac when it's done. So the reason is, once upon a time, like a year ago, I was going down a gravel road minding my own business, and this tree came out of nowhere, and I ran into it, except only my tire, I had spacers on at the time, which is why, like, another good reason to not run spacers. So the tire was sticking out a little bit, and just the tire caught the tree and like yanked the steering wheel. It broke big old fat crack in my rack, and all my power steering fluid went on the ground. My drive column broke. Everything broke somehow at the same time. I'm like, you think it would just break at the weakest point, but literally everything broke. So I replaced the rack, replaced the drive column, steering column, that's what it is. I replaced the steering column, a couple other things, and now my ball joints have gone bad. And so there's like a vibration when you go down the road, and I was like, oh, I need an alignment. Because I also did tie roddings, and they were like, we can't give you an alignment because your junk freak up. And I was like, all right, so we're gonna replace everything, and then I dare them to try to not give me an alignment after that. So I've also got a new rack, another one, because there's play in the steering wheel where the steering column meets the rack. It like doesn't line up properly, so it could just be defective. So I got another one of those. If it doesn't fit, I'll take it back and then try a different column or both, something. We gotta get this play out the steering wheel, would be nice. And yeah, let's do it. All right, guys, so to start, I can kind of explain everything. So the rack and pinion's up in here, so we're gonna have to take our tie rod end out. So you've got a daggum pin in there to hold it, and then you got a castle nut. Take that out, you pop that out, and then you're gonna have to take your rotor off and probably just find somewhere to hang it with a zip tie. You don't want to just let it dangle, it's not good for the line. And then you got a little nut out here, and then that's our upper control army. And you pop that hoe out, and then you got a nut back here, a nut on the other side. Take those out, and then that's your control arm, upper right there. And then kind of the same deal on the bottom, the lower control arm. You got a nut and a butt nut. Shoot, well, I'll have to take this combobulator out right here too, looks like. And then there's a nut on the bottom for your daggum sway bar linkage. And you gotta pull this off, get your nut that's inside here that holds your whole assembly on, and you get that out, and then you can pull this off, and your wheel bearing are up in there. Yeah, let's get started. Guys, I got hit by a bus apparently today, and my brain doesn't work right. I said hang the rotor. You gotta hang your brake caliper, not the rotor. Our rotors are going in the freaking garbage. I'm gonna take it off, I'm gonna throw it behind me. So yeah, I still want to hear everyone saying, you don't hang the brake caliper, hang the rotor. I said it backwards again. You don't hang the thing, you do the other thing, and then that thing goes, whee! Golly, you do the thing and then you do other stuff, just watch. Just watch. Gosh. And these caliper bolts are 15. I don't know. You're asking me. I literally just put these pads on like a couple weeks ago, so they're like brand new. But you know what? We're putting everything in one, so we're gonna get them out of here. There we go. Caliper hanging. Look how easy that comes off. I've taken it on and off so many times. Probably should replace that too, but you know what? Probably wouldn't hurt to replace those, but you know what? We're already doing a lot of replacement. Alright, you got your little cotter penny here. I would recommend gloves for this. It's gonna be freaking nasty. Yeah, we broke the other mallet last night. It hit something and it just went ching, and like sand or whatever the frick it is went everywhere. Alright, so you get your quarter pin off, and then try not to get my hand too nasty. Then you got your little guard doing honky. Just save that. And then Lance! It's like the worst thing he possibly could have done. Yuck. Alright guys, on his nut it's a 1 and 1/16. I don't know why I looked at it, because I know what the frick it is, since I've had to do this 7 times. Guys, don't forget, there's another thing. There's a lot of things. There's our wheel bearings, golly. These are also new, so it's not that surprising if they're okay. They're for real, like maybe a month old. But then there's another one in the back, and it's got a seal on it, keeping it in, and keeping junk out. Ah. All right, bare booty spindle. Dude, you wouldn't believe how long, the first time we did all this, to put a new spindle on, this is an extended spindle, which is probably part of our problems too. It's a lift. Dude, that jump took us like 8 hours to do the front side, and then the back took like 20 minutes. Now we got this guy, which is also, it's a 5/8 actually. I'm gonna let y'all in a little secret. This spindle, when we put this lift on, did not match the original size for these ball joints. And I don't know how to like they just didn't offer ball joints with the lift or anything. So we just made it work by shaving the thing that goes in, like the ball joint pinion was too big for the spindle. So we ended up grinding that down to make it fit, and it was really tight even then. We'll probably end up drilling out the spindle. If these other ball joints are the same size, we'll end up drilling this out to be the right size for this. I mean, that shouldn't be that hard. There was allegedly a reason why we did that. Lance just cut the spindle loose and let it hang by the TPM. I saw that.
I got my side almost done. Yeah, I don't have the video, so I'm going over it.
I know, I'm being like,
I don't know what to say. It's the same things over there, except the other side.
tie rod out. Bing, 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 bing. Doom and flitchy out. Oh yeah, that's awful. What is that? A lob of grease? It's a booger. I got it.
Yeah, how about you just cooperate with the laws of physics and come on?
Is your lower ball joint hard to get off? Or did it? There we go. Lance was right. Spindle off.
Well, that goes the upper control arm.
Oh my god! It's absolutely wreaking havoc and chaos over here. I feel like I'm just over here like, tra la 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 la. I love you, King Julian. Oh my gosh. Yeah, why did it do that? That junk never going back in. Well, that's the end, guys. Thanks for watching. We ain't never gonna get that back. What the frick? It's gotta be something to do with this thing. Can't be its working where mine's off already.
It's gonna drop even further when that little water off. But how the freaking get this little water off?
Lance,
Yeah.
might I inquire as to what you are doing? Let's go. Hey, bruh. What was that? Lower? Okay. I'm just making sure he's not throwing stuff that we're putting back on the truck. It's like, bro, it's my truck. We gotta try on this one. Dude, so usually before when I replace this monkey, the rack and pinion, we had to finesse. We had to like take this junk off and like kind of try to disassemble it and then get it out of this little gap that's on the subframe here, which it like barely fits. You gotta like finesse it and kind of yank it, and it barely works. Like it's a pain in the butt. But since we're doing this, it's gonna be a lot easier because we're dropping the control arms, so there's not. We can like slide it out. That's a freaking bet. Let's go.
All right, guys. So you gotta go through the subframe. There's a nut over here and there's a nut over here. What was it?
There was an inch on the bottom and socket on the bottom. There's also, it's a double nut on top. You gotta take the top one off to take the some hoses off. Size for that.
Show them what hose you gotta take off. And then up here, what I'm working on, there's a 1/2 inch nut. You just loosen it up, and that's where it clamps on the rack and pinion, your steering column. So I'm just undoing this up here, and then we're just prying this off, and this will come right off.
This hose right here sits on top of your big bolts that come through your rack. So there's one right here, and one right here. This one, it's a double nut, but doesn't have anything on the actual other nut. So you just put a wrench on the bottom one and a socket on the bottom and ugga-dugga it out.
All right, guys. Right, we got this daggum thing out finally. I would recommend taking your the ends of your tie rods out before you take all your arm off and stuff, because then you got something to loosen it up with and it's holding on to it, and so it was harder to get the ends off. But then at that point, since we had all our other stuff out of the way, what we did is you can, here, Sean, you see how it's like sitting in the middle of a frame, and you can't just drop it down, obviously. And so what we did is we just slid it out this way a little bit till the end of it was like out here, and then we angled it that way and just came back that way with it and just twisted, and it came right out. So, well, I won't say came right out, but it's out. And so now we can put the new fresh stuff back in. All right, guys, we're gonna do a unboxing. We're gonna show you the new stuff. Nice and we'll just open one of everything. And also, in just a second, before I put this new rack on, I think I already said this, but I'm gonna take the steering column out and stick it in this new one to see if it fits, or to see if it fixes the play in the steering wheel, because that's the only problem with this one, is that steering wheel has play in it where the knuckle goes onto the rack. So if it's the steering column piece and not the rack, then there's no reason for me to use the new one. I'll send it back. New control arm, new upper, dry ball joint, because it has to be greased. Grease fitting on top. Funny thing is, the old one doesn't even have a grease fitting on. I guess it just, when they make them, they grease them. And then, whoo, look at that. Look at that lower control arm. That thing is shiny. Yeah, look at that stinky thing. That'll look nice. That'll look good. Oh, that one comes with a grease fitting and a cotter pin. Sweet.
That thing got grease all over it.
Yeah, what else gonna happen? Is this a sway bar link? This is something. The picture, the picture on the box is so many, wait, there's like, what?
Look at this. Plastic.
It is not. Gosh, she scared me. I was like, I'm not putting a freaking plastic rack and pinion in my truck. This is a, what the frick? Oh, this is a tie rod. This is an inner tie rod. Yes, that's your inside of the tie rod. The rack comes with those. Oh, because she put it on the order before I told her I needed a rack. And so she ordered this on top of, dang, that thing looks nice. It won't freaking look that nice by the time we get it in there, I guarantee you. Look at the difference. Which, I mean, that thing will halfway look like this by the time we get it in, just because, unless we clean the entire like area under there, which is not a terrible idea, but unless we do that, it's gonna get so dirty coming in. Cause you gotta put it in there and twist it and turn it to get to fit in there. Cause there we go, there's the,
You gotta play twisted.
there's the daggum sway bar. My old ones, cause the bushings were like super worn out, were like super jingly going down the road. And so hopefully that'll fix, that looks good though. There we go. There's your comparison on that. That looks way better. That looks nice. The goal, especially for these bushings and stuff, which, holy moly. See, these are all squishy, so that's why they fell apart. These are hard as a daggum rock. I like that. That should do a lot better. My goal on this is like, what makes them look so good is the bushings and stuff being all blue and shiny. which I wish they were red, but you don't really get a choice on that. They don't they don't come in colors. But the goal is to try to keep the stuff as good as possible, like as shiny as possible while we put it in. Like if everything stays shiny, this junk will look good when it's done. So yeah, that's how you take apart stuff and then you just put it back together in the opposite order. So we're probably just gonna time lapse this part. All right guys, we got our setup in here. Look at those new bushings. Look how nice and shiny everything is. It looks really good. So look at this rotor. Look at you can definitely see the scoring on the back right there. How it looks like that comes Saturn. Look at those new ones. Freaking beautiful. Also, notice the rotor and the cleanliness of the the rotor. Lance, go on your side. Make sure you get the ratchet. Yeah, look at that. What the frick?
We kept her clean.
Yeah, look at the ratchets.
Ratchet's clean just as well.
Peanut butter. Everything else is the same. Like, just put it out the way you put it in. You know, you got your nut that goes through there. Try to replace anything that you can on here so you're not having to go back and do stuff. And then on these nuts, it kind of guides you on where to tighten it, because on these, this just has a little valley, and when you put it in there, the bolt will slide in, and it won't slide in there till you've got it in the right place. And then on these, this one and this one down here, there's a hole on the bolt, and you want to line the little these things, you want to line it up with the bolt, and so you can get a cotter pin in and slide it through, and that'll make sure that it doesn't back out. And I want to show you, I'll show you on this old rotor. You got a bearing here. This is the old bearing, and what you want to do is you just get grease, and if you don't have a grease packer, you just slide it in with your finger like that in those grooves, and take your time, make sure you get enough grease in there. Do that on both sides, and then I like to spin it a little bit, and it'll kind of clear it out, and then you can wipe more in there and keep doing that, and then smear some in there, and then it goes in just like that. And make sure to put grease in here too, a whole bunch. Like, you cannot have enough grease, or you can't have too much grease. And make sure everything slides freely. On the back side, it's the same thing in here, just it's just bigger. And so you do the same thing on that, and on the back we've got these seals right here. If you're reusing rotors and stuff, just get that out of there with a pick, replace that seal, and then set it in there, and we get a mallet, and then just bing, 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 bing all around until it pops in nice and smooth like that. And then you just throw that on your spindle until it slides in, and you'll know when it slides in. It just nice and good. And then you put your nut, or there's a washer on there, put that on, then you tighten this nut down, and then you've got a guard thing that goes over that is right here. You put that on, if we can do it like that, and then it's got those prongs in there for your hole that's there. I promise it's there, you can see it. And then you just slide that in, and that keeps that from backing out. But go ahead and make sure to tighten that as much as you can, and then you're set up. You can put your cap back on, and then, you know, put on your caliper and your brake pads and whatnot, and then you put your tire on. Oh yeah, look at that, it's looking good. Looking good.